Hey y'all, it's me Nat. I hope you're having a terrific day today, and for this video we are going to be doing a flip through of my 2024 reading journals. Alright, so before I get to anything bookish, make sure to hit like and subscribe down below, as well as tell me in the comments, what was your favorite spread from last year? So I just had to set the ambiance a little bit with a little candle. So I already did a flip through of my 2025 reading journal, the one I'm going to be using this year, and I am going back to making my own spreads, doing everything myself. If you missed that, I put a link to it in the cards up above, but I did want to walk through my 2024 reading journals with y'all. I did go to doing a pre-made journal last year. I was just really feeling uninspired with journaling and had kind of fallen out of love with it, so I thought this would be easier for me, and it was for quite some time, but I do think I eventually realized that this sort of style is just not my type. I don't really care to journal about every single book I read. Sometimes I just want to write down the bare bones information, but even with that, I did stay on top of doing this journal for about 6 or 7 months of 2024, so I thought it'd be fun to kind of flip through and look at the spreads I did. It's been some time since I looked at this, honestly, so this is going to be interesting to review. And then around July, I did go back to doing my own style, and I kind of started experimenting with the different layouts, the different styles, the different spreads I wanted to be doing. So that's going to be the second journal that we'll flip through. And if you did watch my 2025 reading journal, you'll kind of see where some of the inspiration for my spreads in that book came from. But let's start out with the first half of the year journal, intro pages, and dive into the actual pages for this. So starting out with my favorite books, initially, I believe my thought process was to do like my favorite book of the month for each of these, but I don't think I actually stuck to that. 4 out of 5 that are marked here were in fact on my best books of 2024 list. Then I've got my reading goals, kind of looking through these. I did stay on top of series somewhat. I started into my Star Wars canon project. I don't know if I would necessarily say I mood read more, honestly. I felt like my reading this year was very, very structured because I just had so many video plans going on. I definitely did not host monthly reading sprints, although I'm hoping to get a little over my weird mental hurdle I have with them by doing it on Patreon with you guys, and it'll be a little bit more personal and I won't feel so awkward and uncomfortable by silences. Then I had actually read my 10 books for 2024, which thankfully I did. Did not, however, read the 12 recommendations by 12 friends list I made. I think I read about half of them. When it comes to reading stats, obviously I did do a full video looking at these. I had a goal of reading 130 books, and luckily I read 141, so I did surpass that. My to be read list, I had each section color coordinated, so each color is a different month, and then I would put the books that were 100% on my to be read list, not mood reads, just on the to be read list, and then I would mark down the date that I finished them. And looking at this, honestly, I do think I did pretty well overall with reading the books that were on my TBR. And then over here in, I think this is June, you can see when I fell off because I didn't put in the dates. Now jumping into the actual individual spreads. So there's the basic information for the book that you read, and then there's little prompts to kind of work through. Looking back at some of these already is kind of interesting. Like, what was my favorite quote of the book, or what did you learn from it? Corporations suck. That's funny, but this just isn't really information I personally care to hold on to. I'm usually fairly good at remembering the books I read, so I don't feel like I need this sort of specifics, or like, where was I when I was reading this book? Driving back and forth from the hospital. I don't really want to be looking back on that. And then when it comes to this little free space, I would tend to make some sort of a sticker collage, or I think once or twice I maybe tried my hand at putting something artistic in here, or a lot of the times I would fill it in with other quotes that I really enjoyed from the book. For example, with Comfort Me with Apples, I had this little sticker collage, and honestly, if you know, you know. Ruthless Vows by Rebecca Ross. Unsurprisingly, I had a lot of quotes. Her writing is just so good, and I'm very much looking forward to more of it this year. Honestly, a book that I think looking back I would probably bump to 4.5 stars because Convergence by Zoraida Cordova was the start of my Star Wars canon project, and I really liked this. I loved the romance that developed in this between two characters. I loved the very tumultuous platonic relationship between two other characters. Overall, I think the author really did a great job with this. There were also a good few quotes here and there that I really enjoyed. For The Dark Tide by 𝗖cie když𝘁𝗰𝘁, I got this as a blind book gift, and so I put the little tag that, gave you hints as to what the book was in here. What was it that made Josh think this book would work for me? And honestly, he was right. If I read multiple volumes of a manga in a month, then I would kind of try and combine those into a single page, because honestly, I knew I wasn't gonna put much information down for these, and obviously you can see that reflected here. I do want to give you guys a little bit of a heads up that if you are reading my answers to some of these questions, particularly I believe the most memorable scene or quotes, there's a strong possibility you could suss out some spoilers from those, so proceed with caution. A Study in Drowning by Ava Reid, another book that I knew I was gonna have a lot of quotes, and obviously you can see I had so many. The writing in this book is phenomenal, and I can't wait for the sequel. I'm so excited. I'm so intrigued to see what's gonna happen there. Another cozy that gave me false hope. What did you learn from this book? Maybe cozies aren't so bad. I'm not sure I would quite say that, but I do think there are a few here and there I can enjoy. I have to be really picky about them. I remember this. I was trying to use up some stickers, but I was also trying to make them look like blood drops, but the red marker I have doesn't perfectly match the color of the stickers, so it looks weird, but yeah, I was trying something artistic and it didn't really go anywhere. Oh, I also forgot to point out that the color of the stars, that's also a way that you could tell when I read the book. I made it so that the color of the stars matches with the color in my to be read list. So that's kind of a little fun thing that I forgot to mention. I honestly forgot I did that until I just noticed that the star color changed. Tempest of Tea, I actually had the perfect sticker combo for this, so I utilized obviously teapots, and then I had art supplies, which worked great because there's a character in this that is a forger, and so a lot of times they have to use some sort of art tools to create the perfect forgery. So this one I think actually is very on theme. See, this is definitely around the time where you could tell I was losing steam with this, because I didn't care to fill in all of these questions, and a lot of the times I just didn't really have answers for them. And I also sort of gave up on doing art pieces. Like I was saying at the start, this was interesting to try out, but this is very much not my sort of setup. I don't care to have this much information saved about every one of the books I write. It's not my sort of formatting. Okay, I did forget about this. I do not remember doing this, but I know the context of it because Tempest Runner is specifically about Lorna D. This is a perfect description of her as a character. Gaslight, gatekeep, girl boss. What a villainous woman, and she is written so well, and this book dived into her background and also kind of sets up things for more of her character in the future. Apparently, I did the Honey Witch twice. Don't know what happened there. See, I mean, for this one, I literally did not fill anything in at all. I just wrote that I had finished the book. And it looks like that might be the end of the individual spreads. Yeah. Like I said, this style is great for some people. It is not for me personally. I did utilize a few of these ending spreads, like the favorite authors. So if I read a new book by an author that I've loved in the past, for example, Ava Reed or Charlie Adhara, I fell down the hole with the Big Bad Wolf series and loved it. So included those in here. And I probably could have done a few more, but I didn't. I didn't do the favorite quotes page either because, I mean, you're already writing your favorite quotes for each book down in the individual spread. So like this felt a little redundant to me. Most anticipated. Oh, this is kind of interesting. I read Fence in January. I did in fact read all 3 of the books that came out in February. I read all the books in March, but especially these 2 because I had arcs of them, so that would be why. It's actually kind of hard to read this yellow. And then I also read every one of these in April. Books to reread. If I had stuck with this would have been my December TBR. Obviously, that didn't happen. 12 Wrecks by 12 Friends. So I had DNF'd Sister Maiden Monster by 𝗖cie Snyder. I had read Whalefall by Daniel Kraus, which it was okay. I did also read Such Sharp Teeth by Rachel Harrison and A Strange and Stubborn Endurance by Foz Meadows, just later on in the year. Continuation of the 12 Wrecks by 12 Friends, I also read The Gilda Stories by Joel Gomez, and I did like this, but I wanted a little bit more from it. I eventually read Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff later in the year, as well as The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley, since it was one of my worst books of the year, and finally In the Heart of the Sea by Nathaniel Philbrick. I did attempt to do like the favorite movies and favorite TV shows, which really, I wouldn't even say these were favorites of the year. It was just more like, here are movies or TV shows that were new to me that I watched this year. Elemental, the Disney movie, which was very cute. The Marvels, honestly, underrated. Naruto Shippuden, which I gave 3.5 stars. And upon reflection, I think I might bump that up to like 4. I feel like you can appreciate this one reflecting back on it when it comes to the plot specifically. Character work, I still think could use some help. Plus, Percy Jackson and the Olympians season 1, really liked that and excited for the next season. Finally was my 10 books for 2024, and this isn't even actually 10 spots. Plus I ended up changing The Hobbit, so like this doesn't work either. I did actually complete this one. So we have The Dark Tide by 𝗖cie迄𝗁𝗁𝗁, Skin of the Sea by Natasha Bowen. I DNF'd Heart-Shaped Box by Joe Hill. I had an arc of How You Get the Girl by Anita Kelly. I also read A Tempest of Tea by 𝗖cieः𝘁𝗁𝗁, and eventually read Mirrored Heavens by Rebecca Roanhorse. I really enjoyed how this author ended up wrapping up the series. Rather than saying favorite bookish creators, I was actually utilizing this one for ideas when it came to my booktuber recommends videos. So I did one with Chloe Frizzle in 2024, and I really enjoyed A Study in Drowning from that. And then I planned one out with Mary, but it hasn't come to fruition just yet. So that's it for this preset one. So initially I was just using this more as a bullet journal and like a personal journal at the start of the year. So then we have 2024 part 2. So my subreddit fantasy bingo card was here, but I actually ended up pulling it out and putting it into my 2025 journals. And then I had the remaining of my 2024 TBR, which included my 10 recs and my 12 recommendations. So we already just went through these. Unfortunately, I did have 4 books left over from my 12 recs by 12 friends. Oh, I guess I got more than half of it read. Then this was my first time doing one of these genres and pixels, and I actually really liked this. I think I'm going to be copying this key that I did in my 2025 journal. I just have to actually put the key in there. But this was a really fun and different way to kind of visualize what genres I was reading, and especially really liked getting to see that horror was getting amped up more and more. Not at all surprised that romance takes over a lot of this. Then I have my in versus out, so books that I buy versus the books that I'm reading from my own TBR. This is actually one that I didn't do in my journal. I'm just now realizing, oh my goodness, I'll have to work this in. To be fair, my goal is that the in is going to be very small numbers and the out is going to be very big numbers. So this is something I will have to make a note of to add to my 2025 journal. And then my book buying bingo, this is what I was doing in order to try and limit my book buying. So I would have to make a bingo on the board utilizing books only from my own TBR. If I managed that, then that meant I could buy 1 book. So 5 books read to buy 1 book. Initially, I was doing pretty good with it. And then over here, you can kind of see when I was really falling down because I kept buying books when I didn't have a bingo, meaning that I would have to start over. So initially I had the stickers in place, but then I ended up having to clear the board, which was easier to do digitally, but when it came to actually doing it on this board, I ended up going over them with Sharpie for the second time. So if they were covered by Sharpie, that meant that I had completed that prompt. And then hopping into my monthly spreads. So I did still do a log layout. I'm not really doing this anymore just because I'm not using it as much lately. I'm relying more on my digital calendar. My theme this month was bowling, so for the cover page, I made it so that it was kind of reminiscent of an old school bowling alley sign. And then I had my hopefuls, which was a whole freaking lot because I did my 10K in 10 days challenge in July, plus Summerween took place. This one was pretty simple, but I just used some of my creepy washi tape. Like I said, my 10K and 10 days challenge, I made this little fun flowchart to like complete as I went through. I did not do that, and I also kind of messed up the way the flowchart flowed. And then on this side, I went through and put down every book that I finished and then how many pages had I read from it. This was fun though. I think I will try and utilize this when I do this challenge again. Then I had my books read spread, and oh my gosh, it's so filled in. Look at this, this is phenomenal. I love it. Pages read, I just wanted something nice and simple so that I could keep track of these numbers. And then I started doing the recap page, and I actually really liked it. See, I actually read so much in July that I actually had to do a part 2 to my wrap-up page. And then in August, Josh had bought me some like donut stickers, and so I decided to make the theme donuts. I left a blank page in case I ended up partaking in a readathon, but I don't think I did, so nothing happened here. Onto September, which was basically me just utilizing all of these super tiny stickers I have that are flowers and bugs. Literally did not complete a single book from my hopefuls list in September. How sad is that? This is ridiculous. But I will say the color coordination on this page looks great. Look at this. So amusing to me that my hopefuls completely unfinished, and yet I read a lot in September. What's up with that? I also really like how the recap page on this one came out and how I did this like stacking of midliners for the colors, so it's kind of like a gradient. I think this came out really cool. I need to remember this so I can utilize it again. And then on to October, which I specifically bought some stickers for. We were at the dollar store and they were super cheap and they were really cute, and I was like, you know what? I want to have fun and do something a little different for October, so why not? Obviously, I had very few hopefuls, seeing as how I spent a majority of October reading off of Becca's Bookopoly. And then I did complete my 31 Halloween movies in 31 days. And then finally for November, I was nearly out of pages and I didn't really have a lot of time, so we just did a books wrap-up page. And this was kind of the inspiration behind me deciding to move forward with doing like 3 months at a time, so that I already have the journal prepped out. I'll probably need to start leaving a few pages free here and there just in case I end up needing them. I'm prioritizing it when I can, but this way, hopefully, I won't run into a situation where I don't have the time to actually lay out all my spreads. Plus, with doing it this way, I can kind of ensure that I'm only really working on it when I'm inspired to do so. If I'm not feeling inspired to make a spread, I probably won't like them in the end. So I can hopefully avoid that in the future as well. So on that note, that is it for today, y'all. Thank you so much for coming to my channel. I really appreciate it. If you made it all the way to the end of this video, then leave me the pen emoji in the comments. Y'all know the deal. I have all my socials in the description down below. If you're not following me on something, please check me out. I hope you guys continue to have a terrific day. Love you, bye!